They stole over £500,000 worth of high-end vehicles, Volkswagens, Mercedes, BMWs, all in the dead of night, all while families slept upstairs. Over 5 months, this Birmingham-based trio launched a spree that blended precision, audacity, and quiet cruelty. But in the end, their downfall wasn't an elite task force or cutting-edge surveillance. It was a McDonald's drive-thru. Rory Fitzgerald, Harry Beresford, and Zachary Shellis were young, methodical, and seemingly untouchable. They didn't just steal cars, they invaded homes, often while children slept a few doors away. The damage they caused wasn't only financial, it was psychological. Victims awoke to empty driveways and the chilling realization that strangers had walked through their kitchens and bedrooms. But arrogance crept in. And on the night of 17th November 2020, after an attempted burglary in Northfield, the gang did something staggeringly stupid. They drove straight to a local McDonald's, in a getaway car police had already clocked, and queued for food. Within minutes, officers closed in. Gloves, balaclavas, and damning phone footage was seized. Their carefully woven campaign unraveled between a Big Mac and a bad decision. This is the story of the McDonald's car gang, and how they turned a crime wave into a cautionary tale. The seeds of the McDonald's car gang's crime spree were sown in Birmingham's suburban sprawl, a patchwork of semi-detached homes, quiet cul-de-sacs, and driveways lined with high-performance cars. Rory Fitzgerald, 24, Harry Beresford, 21, and Zachary Shellis, 25, didn't fit the profile of criminal masterminds. But together they found common purpose and an untraceable buyer who would pay handsomely for stolen vehicles. That was all they needed. Their operation began in late June 2020. At first, the break-ins were sporadic, opportunistic, but they quickly evolved. The gang learned fast which doors offered least resistance, which homes kept keys in plain sight, and how to enter and exit without waking a soul. They used tools to prise open patio doors and side entrances, slipping in silently between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m., when most residents were at their most vulnerable. Once inside, they moved quickly, but deliberately. Car keys were the target, but if phones, designer clothes, or even televisions were within reach, they took those too. It wasn't just theft, it was invasion, the sort that upends a family's sense of safety long after the locks are changed. Their reach expanded across Birmingham and beyond, Walsall, Aldridge, Erdington, Sutton Coldfield. Police would later connect them to at least 37 stolen cars, though detectives suspect the true figure is higher. Each theft was another tick on the scorecard, another silent victory, and another set of victims left shocked and sleepless. At the heart of it all was a single contact, an unnamed figure who promised to pay, no questions asked, for any high-spec vehicle they could bring. Some cars were shipped overseas, others stripped for parts or sold on to other criminals. It was business, cold, impersonal, and highly profitable, and for 5 months it seemed to work. This wasn't a smash-and-grab crew. Fitzgerald, Beresford, and Shellis operated with the precision of a professional unit. Over the course of 5 months, they honed a formula that allowed them to steal high-end vehicles with alarming efficiency. Their toolkit was simple: crowbars, screwdrivers, gloves, and balaclavas. But it was their preparation that made them effective. The gang scouted homes in advance, often selecting properties with clear views of valuable cars, especially Volkswagen Golfs, BMWs, and Mercedes-Benz models. They avoided chaotic urban zones, favoring affluent residential areas where houses had driveways, garages, or gated entrances. Using online property listings and satellite imagery, they could plan their entry and exit routes down to the minute. Their break-ins followed a near-identical pattern: strike between 1 and 5 a.m. when residents were in deep sleep, enter through the side or rear, locate the keys swiftly, often left in plain sight or in hallway drawers, then drive off silently into the night. Some homes were hit while children slept meters away. Others woke to find open windows and their family cars already halfway across the city. The trio were careful to rotate their targets across different boroughs to avoid patterns. but even their advanced planning couldn't hide the psychological residue they left behind. Victims spoke of the surreal feeling of realizing someone had been in their home, not just stolen from them, but watched them, selected them, and silently walked through their lives. Some cars were sold intact, others were cloned, given false plates and documents before being sold on to unsuspecting buyers or used in further crimes. In certain cases, cars were stripped within hours with valuable components sold separately. Their buyer, believed to be a well-connected middleman in the stolen vehicle trade, ensured quick payouts and no questions. And the gang reveled in their success. Phone footage later recovered showed them boasting, laughing, even singing while holding stolen keys and flashing through Birmingham in luxury vehicles. One video featured the line, "What's that? 8 cars in one night." Okay then. It wasn't just about money, it was about the thrill and the illusion of being untouchable. By autumn 2020, Fitzgerald, Beresford and Shellis were no longer just burglars, they were operators. Their string of break-ins had evolved into a full-scale criminal enterprise, and with each successful hit, their confidence grew. They didn't just steal, they flaunted it. In their minds, they owned the streets and the night. CCTV footage and mobile phone clips later uncovered by police painted a chilling picture of their psychology. The trio filmed themselves rifling through handbags, posing with stolen car keys, and even singing mid-burglary. In one clip, a gang member gleefully declared, "I don't just take cars, me, I take the big telly," as a 55-inch television was carried from a sleeping family's home. These weren't just crimes, they were trophies. Their sense of control extended to the way they selected and entered homes. They moved with precision, often bypassing alarm systems and avoiding CCTV where possible. Police believe the gang carefully mapped routes to avoid ANPR cameras, using online tools to plan each night's spree like a military exercise. The 8-car haul in a single night remains one of the most brazen multi-property thefts in the West Midlands in recent years. Their power came from their detachment, entering homes while children slept, rummaging through personal belongings and walking out unnoticed. It all became routine. That sense of invisibility gave them psychological dominance, both over their victims and over the communities they repeatedly struck. Word of their activity spread through local WhatsApp groups and community alerts, but residents were left helpless. Each morning brought new victims. Police, stretched thin and dealing with a wave of vehicle crime, were gathering evidence but still lacked the break they needed. The gang, meanwhile, began to feel untouchable. They drove stolen vehicles with impunity, shared clips of their exploits, and treated each new score as validation. Their videos weren't just documentation, they were expressions of power, ego, and control. But like so many who believe their own myth, they went too far. They became too visible, too bold. And as they shifted from careful planning to careless indulgence, the seeds of their downfall were already being sown, not in a dark alley or backstreet garage, but under the golden arches of a McDonald's. The gang's downfall didn't start with handcuffs, it started with complacency. After months of smooth operations, Fitzgerald, Beresford and Shellis began making mistakes. The tactics that once kept them ahead of law enforcement started to unravel under the weight of their own recklessness. Police had been watching. Reports of suspicious activity, CCTV sightings, and the recurring style of break-ins had allowed investigators to draw patterns. Operation Cantil, West Midlands. Police's specialised task force targeting vehicle crime had ramped up patrols in hotspot areas. Unmarked cars, traffic units and surveillance officers were now actively working overnight, and the pressure was mounting. The trio, however, didn't adjust. They continued to use the same black Peugeot as a getaway vehicle, one made distinct not just by its colour, but by its unusual spare wheel on the rear. That detail, overlooked by them, became critical to their identification. It was logged more than once in connection with suspicious activity. On 17th November 2020, that carelessness caught up with them. After being spotted attempting to break into garages on Tessel Lane, Northfield, they fled the scene. But instead of laying low, the gang, driving the same identifiable Peugeot, headed for the nearest McDonald's. Whether it was hunger, overconfidence, or sheer stupidity, the move proved fatal. A passing police car clocked the vehicle's distinctive wheel. Within minutes, a patrol unit was following them into the drive-thru. Before they could even order, all three were arrested on suspicion of burglary. Inside the car, officers found gloves, balaclavas, and tools. But the real treasure trove was on their phones. Video after video of stolen cars, in-progress burglaries, and mocking commentary. One video even placed them at the scene of an Aldridge burglary where a woman's handbag was rifled through while her family slept upstairs. Their arrogance had blinded them. In their minds, they were still in control. But what they failed to realize was that the evidence was piling up, and every video, every boast, every careless drive brought them closer to being exposed. The cracks weren't just forming, they were splitting wide open. By the time the black Peugeot rolled into the McDonald's drive-thru in Northfield, police already had enough eyes on it. What had once been a faceless crew slipping undetected through the West Midlands was now a target, and their arrest couldn't have been more ironic. At a place chosen for convenience and comfort, the trio met the cold hand of justice. It was just before midnight on the 17th of November 2020 when reports came in. 3 men attempting to break into garages on Tessel Lane. They'd fled, but not far. A patrol car heading the opposite way clocked the distinct spare wheel on the back of their vehicle. Officers turned around, radioed in the details, and tailed the car discreetly. Moments later, the vehicle pulled into a nearby McDonald's drive-thru, one dangerously close to the scene of their latest attempted burglary. Unaware of the net closing in, Fitzgerald, Beresford, and Shellis queued up to order. They never got the chance. As they approached the service window, police units moved in. All 3 were arrested on suspicion of burglary, pulled from the vehicle without resistance. But what was found in and around the car confirmed this wasn't just one break-in. It was the collapse of a months-long operation. Inside the Peugeot, balaclavas, gloves, and burglary tools. On their phones, damning video evidence. One clip showed Fitzgerald rifling through a woman's handbag during a break-in in Aldridge. Another, taken during the same incident, captured the gang's voiceover, laughing, boasting, and singing about taking televisions and valuables while families slept upstairs. In a separate video, one of the men brandishes a stolen car key while a voice says, "What's that? 8 cars in one night." Okay then. It was pure bravado, and it sealed their fate. With digital evidence, witness reports, and forensic matches linking them to dozens of incidents, police now had the full picture. Operation Cantil investigators tied the trio to at least 37 vehicle thefts, though the real number is suspected to be higher. Their arrest wasn't the result of a dramatic chase or complex sting. It was a slow, quiet roll through a drive-thru window, the final stop for a gang who had driven too far for too long without looking back. With the gang's arrogance preserved in video evidence and their tools of the trade found in the back seat of their car, the justice system moved swiftly. The trio were charged with conspiracy to burgle and conspiracy to steal motor vehicles, offences covering a 5-month spree and at least 37 confirmed thefts. Their mobile phones, seized during the arrest at the McDonald's drive-thru, proved to be gold mines. Not only did they contain footage of the gang mid-burglary, but they also recorded audio of them bragging about the number of cars they'd taken in a single night. In one clip, a voice says, "What's that? 8 cars in one night." Okay then. Another shows Fitzgerald rummaging through a woman's handbag in Aldridge while her family slept upstairs. These weren't just incriminating, they were damning. All 3 men pleaded guilty at Birmingham Crown Court. On 30 September 2022, sentencing was handed down. Rory Fitzgerald, 24, received 96 months, 8 years. Harry Beresford, 21, was sentenced to 76 months. while Zachary Shellis, 25, received 66 months. The judge made it clear that their crimes had caused widespread harm, noting that the psychological impact on victims was significant and long-lasting. "These were not opportunistic thefts," the judge remarked. "These were planned, executed invasions of people's homes. The trauma experienced by your victims will remain long after the stolen property is replaced." West Midlands Police's dedicated vehicle crime task force, Operation Cantle, had played a critical role in tracking the gang and coordinating their arrest. Detective Constable Kevin Cockayne, who led the investigation, said, "The full scale of their offending only became clear once we analysed their phones. They broke into homes for keys to high-performance cars and left families feeling unsafe in their own beds." In 2021 alone, Operation Cantle resulted in over 2,000 arrests and the recovery of more than 1,000 stolen vehicles, showing the sheer scale of organised car theft in the region. For Fitzgerald, Beresford and Shellis, the sentences marked the end of a crime wave that left dozens of families shaken. But while justice was served, the real cost, the fear, the violated trust and the sleepless nights, remains with their victims. Their spree ended not with a high-speed chase, but at a fast food drive-thru. And in the end, they didn't just lose their freedom, they lost the illusion that they were untouchable.